Jonathan Chandler from the Virginia School of Traditional Arts. We've got a new piece of equipment we've purchased. We're going to, I guess unbox it isn't the correct word because I've already taken out the box. We're going to talk to you about it. This is a Hypertherm XP45 or 45 XP, and it's a plasma cutter. We're going to try that out. I've never owned one before, never played with one at all, but we're going to show you what I'm going to do to set it up for our purposes. Here in the shop, I like to have everything on wheels, so we've got a little AV cart, basically the kind of cart that you'd put a overhead projector, a slide projector on back in the day. I buy these whenever the school auctions them off. I love something with wheels, so this one happens to be plastic, but I've got a bunch of them that are metal. But we're just going to use this cart for today and mount our plasma cutter to it. We're not actually going to mount the plasma cutter, but our air filtration air dryer to the cart, and have the plasma cutter just sit on the cart. But the reason I chose this particular one and this particular seller is because they offered the plasma cutter with both a hand torch and a machine torch for basically $100 more than the rest of them were offering the same machine with one or the other torches. I do not have a CNC table. That's another thing I would love to get and try out, see what we can do with that. But they're fairly expensive. I mean, decent ones, you know, start at about $5,000–6,000 and go up from there. And so, you know, we're gonna try it out by hand first. But I wanted that option, and the machine torch itself is about $750 for this thing. So I figured an extra $100 to get it when I purchased this. And this one came with the, you can get a cheaper version of this, but this one came with the port that does the computer work for your CNC tables. So we got those options already included in this, so that we're ahead of the game with some of those things. Show you this setup here. This came from eBay as well. This is an air dryer. It has 3 compartments in it. Now I have had to, it comes blank. It just has a 1/2-inch threaded hole on both ends, and it has a threaded hole here. Now I'll tell you, both of the places on eBay that I bought these 2 pieces of equipment from, this plasma cutter and this, sent me issues. I don't think they're unfixable issues, but it kind of annoyed me greatly because I had been really busy and I just got this stuff out to use it, and couldn't use either one as it came. It kind of drove me nuts. But this one, everything was great on it, except this gauge they sent me has the wrong size threads to go into the hole. The hole's much smaller. The hole's like 1/8 of an inch, and the threads are 1/4 of an inch. So I had to go to the hardware store and buy me some adapters, a little nipple sticking out, and then an adapter to go from the 1/8 to 1/4. I can make this work, but it's a pain in the butt, and the extra $8 worth of little components. And I'm not going to hook this air dryer into my whole system. I don't generally run that kind of system. I don't paint or anything, so it's just nail guns usually what I'm using with it, so I don't really worry about the moisture in it. Maybe I should, but it's never been an issue. So I'm going to just mount this to this cart, and that way if I want to run my air gun through this, I can just unsnap it and we can hook the air guns through this. If you had a wall, if you had a manifold or what have you, you could put this in front of your manifold, but I don't really have all that. And you can mount this to the wall. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to mount this. All I have done, this is a piece of shelving board. It could be plywood. I'd have rather it been plywood, but I didn't have any plywood this size. This is just a 1x12 shelving board, a piece of scrap I had. A 2x4 that's turned sideways. A little small piece of 2x4 turned flat, And then because my shelving board was trying to crack in the middle, like I said, this is scrap stuff, I put these 2 2x4s on here just to study it up and down. And that actually made the footprint of it down here wider. And this is just dimensional lumber. I did knock off the corners here and here. These corners I knocked off to make it match my cart. And this I just figured would look a little better and stop me from catching my arms and stuff if I reached across this thing. But nothing spectacular here at all. I just painted it black because black's what I had. And I have drilled 2 holes here and here down through the cart. And I have a corresponding board. I have a corresponding board that I drilled at the same time. Just put them together, clamped them, and drilled them at the same time. And then I'll put this underneath here and bolt it together. And this basically acts as a huge washer. Because my cart's plastic, I wanted to give it as much reinforcement as I could. So this just acts as a huge washer basically, so it doesn't, you're not pulling on the plastic in any one spot. This makes a sandwich like that. And then our air dryer has 4 holes, or 4 holes for bolts. I just had 2 bolts, so I chose the top hole and the bottom hole opposite corners, and here and here, and I'll just bolt it on there. When I get some more bolts, I may drill the other holes, but this should be sufficient for what we're doing with it. And so I'm going to put the bolts in this. I still yet have to tighten up my where I put the Teflon tape, on all these joints. I still have to tighten all that stuff up. They're just hand tight. We bolted our little I guess wall or board down here, however you want to call it. And this is just screwed together with this screws, just like decking screws. And it's really stable. That's what I was wanting. I was wanting it not to be floppy, because we are going to attach cords to this and stuff. And every once in a while you may step on your air hose or something and go to pull this thing. You don't want it to break off and drop your air dryer. Don't care for this part sticking out so much. So anyhow, the only thing left to do as far as making the plasma cutter work is to plug in this end, and that gives me air through my air dryer. Oh, and I've got to put, they've got some little beads that you put in there that catches the water. I haven't done that part yet either. And we're going to put in our, let's bring you around here where you can see. We're going to work on this cable a little bit. It's stiff. It's cold out here today, so this cable is pretty stiff. But basically from our air dryer, and this is our port for our computer, and it's got a plastic cover over it, and that threw me off for a minute, because I thought, well, there, and they done not only not sent the hand torch, but they didn't send me the right thing. But it's underneath here. You just pry that off. It's just a little rubber cover, and I put it back on so it doesn't get dirt and junk down in there. But then you're just going to plug this part in. Oh, and I've got to tighten up these two, because this is new as well. I just got this style air hose basically because it's compact. I don't much care for those air hoses, but that's what was cheap and basically the right length. This was as short a piece as I could get. I hate a leaking air hose, so it drives me nuts. So I generally try to get a nice one. But anyhow, this is all we have to do to hook this thing up. I would love to show you how this works, and I'll do that later. But when I ordered this from eBay, it did not come with the hand torch. And I emailed them prior to me buying it and asked specifically, did it come with the hand torch and the machine torch, which is what I wanted. And it kind of said that, but it kind of didn't. It didn't make it plain, or at least I didn't think it was making it plain enough. And so they sent me an email back, oh sure, it comes with both. Well, then it arrived and it only had one, and that kind of was not a good moment. And so I jumped on the computer and I emailed them, and I was fussing pretty good with them. I said, now look, I emailed you specifically and asked you if this came with both torches. Well, they were right Johnny on the spot. It was through the work day too, wasn't at night or anything, but they were Johnny on the spot, and they said, we're shipping you out a hand torch. Somebody must have taken it out of the box while it's here at the showroom or what have you. I know stuff like that happens, but it's kind of annoying when you set aside time to put this thing together, and then you're waiting on shipping again. I ordered this way ahead, and it's my fault. I didn't check the box when it first came. I just set the box aside. I was busy doing other things, so that's part of it's my fault for not checking ahead of them. But come on now. But then I ordered this. Like I said, I ordered this air dryer, and I'll put this one on there. And in fact, I like the air dryer. It's better made than I was expecting, but I did have to get me a couple of pieces to make it work immediately. I sent them an email saying that their gauge wasn't the right size, and they weren't quite Johnny on the spot. It was later at night when I discovered that, and but they did say they're going to send me another gauge that will fit, and so I'll take all this long piece sticking off here, and it'll get much closer. And that's what I was wanting. I didn't want this all sticking out. I want to be able to roll this against the wall or get it out of the way and just bring it out when I'm using it. I'm not going to use it every day probably, but when I do the next sculpture, I'm going to have lots of cutting to do, and I can cut it with the torch, but it's slower. These things are supposed to be fast and leave less dross and less cleanup, so we're going to try it out, and we'll tell you what we think. I also like that I put this little wall up here because I didn't want my unit to sit by itself on this cart. I'm afraid it'll flop off, My floor is not level at all, and it kind of bumps and lumps, and I just was afraid this thing would just flop off in the floor. But and I may attach it to this little wall with a bungee cord or something later, but right now I think it's going to be good enough. that twice is why that looks like that. But a lot faster than a torch, a lot faster than I could have with a torch, and I can make exact copies. Much impressed with the XP45 from Hypertherm. I'll put in the description below where I purchased mine at. The one I purchased has the capability of doing the computer table as well as a handheld torch. Comes with both torches for virtually the same price that everybody else was charging you for one torch. I had a couple little hiccups with what was in the box when it came, but they fixed that pretty good. But very impressed with the machine itself. Awesome machine. Highly recommend it. They're not paying me a thing, although they can. If they want to send me a check, that's wonderful. But we'll see you next time. Thank you. Hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much.